The warning came without sound, without mercy, without the courtesy of misunderstanding. Across Earth's skies, the Galactic Dominion arrived like a storm of metal and fire, their ships blotting out constellations humanity had once admired. Every broadcast, every screen, every satellite was hijacked by a single, cold transmission that shattered the illusion of safety humanity had always clung to. Planet designation Earth, you are surrounded. You will surrender all defenses, all sovereignty, all weapons. Refusal will result in planetary cleansing. The words were clinical, spoken in perfect human translation, stripped of emotion yet filled with dominance. Panic spread faster than the transmission itself. Cities fell silent as billions stared upward, hearts freezing at the sight of the sky's sudden darkness. In the underground chambers of the United Earth Defense Command, chaos ruled. Generals argued, politicians shouted, and fear gnawed at the edges of logic. Earth's fleets were scattered relics of old wars, their weapons laughable beside the Dominion's armada. No defense grid could hold. No counterstrike could succeed. Every calculation led to extinction. Yet amidst the noise and despair, one officer stood still, Captain Ariana Vale of the UNS Resolute. Her presence was quiet but commanding, her uniform worn but immaculate, her eyes sharp with the calm of someone who had faced death before. She was not part of the shouting. She was listening, watching, waiting for the truth to emerge through fear. Ariana had seen what panic did to people. She had seen soldiers abandon posts, when hope vanished and leaders make foolish decisions, just to feel control again. But she also knew something no one in that chamber dared admit: surrender never ensured survival. It only delayed destruction. As the Dominion fleet positioned itself above Earth, a single blast of light lanced downward. One of Earth's orbital stations vanished, leaving nothing but silence where thousands had lived. The message was clear. The Dominion did not negotiate. It demonstrated. The room fell into horrified stillness. The Secretary General's voice trembled as he turned to Ariana. Captain Vale, you've seen combat in deep space. What's your assessment? She rose from her seat slowly, her movements deliberate, her tone level. They don't want surrender, she said. They want submission. They want the galaxy to see us kneel. Her words cut through the tension like a blade. Some of the officers muttered protests, insisting resistance was suicide. Ariana didn't argue. You're right, she said simply. We can't win in a fair fight. The honesty of it silenced them again. For the first time that day, truth sounded steadier than fear. The Dominion's second transmission interrupted the council. A projection filled the room, a towering alien figure, its exoskeleton glinting like polished obsidian, its many eyes shimmering with cruel amusement. Humans, it said, voice deep and resonant. Your defiance is meaningless. Kneel now and your extinction will be delayed. Resist and your world will burn. The alien tilted its head, smiling faintly. Your leaders have minutes to decide. The council froze, unable to speak. Every human instinct screamed to survive, to submit, to buy time. Ariana stepped closer to the console. The alien's gaze shifted toward her as if sensing something different. You are their commander? It asked, almost curious. You understand the futility of defiance? She met its gaze without blinking. I understand something you don't, she said. Humanity doesn't surrender to fear. The warlord's expression darkened. You cannot fight us. You cannot even touch us. Ariana leaned forward slightly, her tone quiet but absolute. Then we'll do what we do best, what you'll never understand. The alien sneered. And what is that, human? Ariana's answer came without hesitation, without tremor, with a certainty that carried across every broadcast on Earth. We adapt, we endure, and when you threaten what we love, we fight. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. The alien's laughter broke it, a cruel, metallic sound that echoed through every city and command bunker. You think words will save you? It mocked. Ariana straightened, eyes unwavering. No, she said softly. But they'll remind us who we are. Then, before anyone could stop her, she reached forward and cut the transmission. The warlord's image vanished into static. All eyes turned toward her. Some were terrified, others furious. But beneath the fear was something new, something fragile and dangerous. Hope. What have you done? One general hissed. Ariana faced him calmly. What had to be done? They expect fear? Let's give them defiance instead. Her voice held no theatrics, no pretense of victory, only conviction. She looked at the map displaying the alien fleet orbiting Earth. They'll come for us. an officer whispered. They already have, Ariana replied. Outside, the night sky pulsed with faint light as Dominion ships moved into formation. The countdown to annihilation had begun. In the command center, the silence was heavy. But within that silence, something fundamental shifted. Humanity was no longer debating survival. It was preparing for defiance. And at the heart of it stood a woman who had chosen courage over fear, conviction over compromise. The final decision had been made, and it carried the weight of an entire species behind it. When the transmission system reconnected and the Dominion demanded humanity's formal response, Ariana stepped forward once more. Her voice was steady, her eyes unflinching. You want our surrender, she said. You won't have it. The warlord's image flickered back, amusement fading to irritation. You dare oppose the Dominion? Ariana's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. No, she said quietly. We attacked the Dominion. And in that moment, against reason, against probability, humanity's story changed forever. The soldiers watching her stood taller. The frightened civilians staring at their screens began to believe. For the first time since the skies darkened, Earth remembered what it meant to fight back. The decision was made, and it was final. Humanity would not wait to die. It would rise, strike, and remind the galaxy why surrender was never an option. The war had begun. The UNS Resolute burned forward through the darkness, its engine screaming as Captain Ariana Vale committed fully to the path she had chosen. On the bridge, red warning lights washed every face in harsh color, yet no one asked for retreat. The crew had heard her words. They had seen the Dominion fleet. They understood the truth with a clarity that erased doubt. This was not a mission built on survival. It was built on meaning. Ariana stood at the center of the bridge, posture rigid, expression controlled. But beneath the discipline lay a storm of thought. She was keenly aware that every second carried her farther from Earth and closer to annihilation, yet she felt no regret. Fear existed, but it no longer ruled her. Dominion targeting arrays activated almost immediately. Alien ships pivoted in perfect unison, weapons tracking the Resolute with predatory ease. A transmission crackled to life, the warlord's voice dripping with contempt. You advance toward extinction, human. Turn back and kneel. Ariana did not respond. She knew words no longer mattered. What mattered was timing. She glanced at her tactical officer, who gave a sharp nod. The first phase was ready. The Resolute surged deeper into the enemy formation, alarms shrieking as energy fire grazed the shields. Each hit rattled the hull, but the ship held together just long enough. Launch decoys, Ariana ordered. From the ship's flanks, dozens of crude-looking objects scattered outward. The Dominion barely acknowledged them, dismissing them as debris or failed munitions. That arrogance was their weakness. The decoys activated simultaneously, emitting bursts of chaotic interference that twisted gravity and scrambled sensors. Dominion vessels drifted out of alignment, their precise formation unraveling into confusion. Fire meant for the Resolute struck Allied ships instead, and for the first time the enemy showed hesitation. Ariana allowed herself one measured breath. Humanity's technology was inferior, but human thinking was not. Inside the bridge, tension sharpened into grim focus. Crew members worked with relentless precision, knowing every success was temporary. We're buying time, the navigation officer said quietly. Ariana nodded. That's all we need. She thought of Earth, of cities filled with people who would never know her name, of children staring at the sky, of leaders who had nearly surrendered hope. This was for them. The Dominion fired again, a direct hit tearing through the Resolute's port shields. Consoles sparked. Smoke filled the air. Someone cried out in pain, but no one fled their post. Ariana reopened the channel. The warlord's image flickered into view, its composure cracked by fury. You contaminate order with chaos, it snarled. You will be erased. Ariana's voice remained calm. You already erase worlds, she replied. We're just making sure the galaxy sees it. At her signal, the final payload armed, a compressed data core containing records, gathered over years, evidence of Dominion enslavement, extermination, and lies. The Resolute transmitted the burst into subspace, sending it racing toward hidden networks and listening worlds. The warlord's eyes widened as realization struck. No species will rally to you, it hissed. Ariana met its gaze, unflinching. They already are, she said. The channel cut as another blast tore through the ship. Hull integrity failed. The bridge shuddered violently and gravity faltered. Ariana gripped the rail, steadying herself as the ship began to die around her. She looked at her crew, meeting each gaze with quiet pride. "You did well," she said simply. No speeches followed. None were needed. The Resolute detonated in a bloom of light that briefly rivaled a star. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. Yet within that silence, something irreversible had occurred. The Dominion fleet, shaken and disordered, hesitated instead of advancing. Across the galaxy, hidden receivers awakened as the data burst arrived. Proof spread like wildfire. Oppressed species watched, learned, and remembered the small human ship that chose defiance over fear. Above Earth, the alien armada remained, but its certainty was gone. On the planet below, humanity waited, grieving yet resolute. Captain Ariana Vale was gone, but her choice endured. The attack had failed to destroy the enemy, yet it had accomplished something far more dangerous. It had inspired resistance, and as the Dominion regrouped in uneasy silence, the galaxy took its first breath of rebellion, knowing this war was no longer one-sided. Earth did not celebrate after the Resolute fell. There were no cheers, no illusions of victory, only a heavy, shared silence that stretched across continents. Memorial lights burned in every city, not for triumph, but for resolve. Captain Ariana Vale became a name spoken softly, with reverence rather than pride. She had not saved Earth through strength of arms. She had saved it by refusing to let fear define humanity's final answer. In command bunkers and civilian shelters alike, people understood that her sacrifice had purchased something rare and dangerous: time. The Dominion fleet remained in orbit, but it no longer moved with absolute certainty. Ships adjusted positions more slowly. Patrol patterns fractured. Their commanders argued instead of commanding. The data Ariana released had spread farther than anyone predicted. Worlds long silenced by occupation began to listen openly. Systems that had paid tribute out of terror started withholding it. The Dominion had ruled through inevitability, and that illusion was breaking. Earth was not yet safe, but it was no longer alone. Within the United Earth Defense Command, leadership changed tone entirely. The same officials who once argued surrender now studied Ariana's final transmission frame by frame. They saw not recklessness but intention. She had never expected to win the battle. She had aimed to fracture the enemy's confidence and awaken the galaxy's conscience. Earth's remaining fleets were recalled and reorganized, not for defense alone, but for coordination with newly emerging allies. Humanity, once isolated, was becoming a symbol. Weeks passed, then months. Skirmishes erupted along Dominion borders as resistance cells struck supply routes and communication hubs. Each small victory echoed Ariana's choice, reinforcing the idea that defiance was contagious. On Earth, children learned her name in schools, not as a warrior, but as a reminder of what courage looked like when survival was uncertain. Statues rose, not towering monuments, but simple ones, Ariana standing at a console, eyes forward, hands steady. Humanity needed reminders that bravery could be quiet. The Dominion eventually sent another transmission. This time the tone had changed. The voice was restrained, cautious. "Earth," it said, "you have disrupted galactic order. Withdraw your influence, and the Dominion will reconsider its stance." The message was no longer a demand. It was a negotiation disguised as authority. Humanity's leaders listened, then chose their response carefully. They spoke not with threats, but with unity. Earth would not withdraw. Earth would stand. As the transmission ended, something subtle but profound settled over the planet. Humanity had crossed a threshold. It was no longer reacting to terror. It was shaping its future through choice. Ariana's absence still ached, but her presence lingered in every decision made with integrity instead of fear. The war was far from over, and loss still waited ahead. Yet humanity had learned it could face extinction without surrendering its soul. In the quiet hours of Earth's night, people looked up at the stars again, not with innocence but with understanding. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unjust, yet it was not immutable. Change had begun with one refusal, one voice that said no when silence would have been easier. The Dominion still existed. The threat still loomed. But the story was no longer theirs alone to write. Somewhere beyond known space, resistance fleets gathered strength, inspired by a human captain who chose action over obedience. Earth prepared, allies aligned, and the future sharpened into something uncertain but meaningful. Humanity had not won peace. It had earned purpose. And as the stars watched in silence, one truth echoed across worlds: The species that refused to kneel would never again be dismissed as insignificant.